another issue in our politics, this one taking place inside the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C., but impacting Americans all over the country. The partial government shutdown, and really a departmental shutdown, followed by and triggered by the lapse in funding for the Department of Homeland Security, is now into its third day after lawmakers on Capitol Hill failed to reach a funding deal by the midnight Friday deadline. The Department of Homeland Security now without a spending bill backing it. We're going to go to our Alice Barr right now with more context on this partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security.
Hi there. We're now in day 3 of this partial government shutdown, the third shutdown of President Trump's second term. We don't know yet how it's going to stack up in length, but the two parties appear miles apart. This morning, the reality of another partial government shutdown is settling in after the Department of Homeland Security ran out of funding over the weekend with no deal on reforms to immigration enforcement operations.
We need change that is dramatic, that is bold, that is meaningful.
We have to protect law enforcement.
While negotiators struggle for common ground, ICE and Border Patrol at the center of the dispute are still funded through what President Trump called the Big Beautiful Bill, while critical workers at FEMA, the Coast Guard, and TSA are once again working without pay.
People's lives and livelihoods are being played with here.
Union leader Andrew Cardosa says many TSA agents are still recovering from the last shutdown in the fall that snarled air travel for weeks. He says they can't afford another extended stretch without pay.
For me, eventually, it's going to come down to, do I put gas in the car to go to work for free, or do I put food on the table with that money for my kid?
Democrats argue they have to stand firm in the wake of the shooting deaths of 2 American citizens by federal officers. They're demanding changes, including a uniform code of conduct for ICE and Border Patrol, judicial warrants before immigration arrests, and no masks on officers.
No police department in America doesn't identify themselves.
What are you going to do, expose their faces so you can intimidate their families? What we want is ICE to be able to do their job.
Congress is out until next week, but could come back to vote if there's a deal. Republicans are accusing Democrats of political theater in the lead up to President Trump's State of the Union address next week. Democratic leadership rejecting that, saying they hope to reach a deal before then. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
That's our Alice Barr with that context on this ongoing shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. She mentioned it in her story, but it bears repeating here because, as Alice mentioned, this is the third shutdown, either full or partial, of President Trump's second term. This shutdown impacts the Department of Homeland Security. The DHS is the umbrella agency that sits atop a number of other agencies that you will recognize, including TSA, FEMA, the Coast Guard, Secret Service, and ICE, and Customs and Border Protection. And as Alice mentioned there, and we're going to re-mention right now, in last summer's so-called Big Beautiful Bill passed by Congress and signed into law by President Trump, billions of dollars in funding were appropriated to ICE and to Customs and Border Protection and earmarked for the use in immigration enforcement operations. Other DHS agencies like TSA and FEMA, Coast Guard, and others could potentially see the impact, feel the impacts of this shutdown more quickly. So there's a bit of a question on the timing on all of this as well.